The low level of infrastructure development seems to suggest that there is inadequate attention to infrastructure investment by African governments. Do you think there is a role for non-state actors? And if so, how should they engage in the sector? If not directly involved in the investment, what could they do to help raise the level of priority given to investment accorded in the infrastructure sector, and in particular in support of productivity and income growth in agriculture?
Thank you very much. Well, if we look at the choice of infrastructure, when government decide to invest in infrastructure, there are four principles, four things that should guide government infrastructure. That includes alignment of such infrastructures to national plans, national priorities, attractive commercial and social returns, attracting private capital or unlock private sector potential, and then the issue of conducive regulatory environment. Now, if you look at this, we're talking about the low investment. Why is there low investment, and why is it that the investments that have been done do not really address the issues like some people, the questions asked to Massimo in terms of linking those connectivity. It's because of the processes for which investment choices are made for infrastructure. And I think that for us to be able to address this issue and ensure that the right investment in infrastructure is taken, as well as ensuring that the right things are done, means that we need to look again at the processes for prioritizing investment. Who makes the choice for the kind of infrastructure that is undertaken, and what are the mix, the connection between the other sectors, the other areas, to ensure that you have the right sets of people sitting down in taking decision, even in the design and all of that. And so in many instances, we see that investment in infrastructure is done with what I refer to as infrastructure of politics rather than infrastructure of services. What do I mean by that? It's that infrastructures are put in places where they shouldn't be put, just because we want to be able, we made campaign promises, we want to meet those demands. So, Maximo talked about the El Salvador road, the corridor, without the connections. We see a lot of this happen in Africa. In Nigeria, for example, we have, Nigeria went into talk about independent power projects. We cited gas, we cited these plants in areas where there are no gas. So it means that the connectivity for that is going to be problematic. And so now the cost is also going to be going to skyrocket. So we need to run away, we need to do away with the infrastructure of politics and look at infrastructure for services, which is able to ensure that the people who are going to benefit from this infrastructure are able to sit down, discuss what are the benefits, what are the links. So if we're talking about infrastructure, for example, for water, how does it provide water for small-scale farmers, or as well as those who are looking at commercial businesses or commercial farms? Again, I give you an example of a situation we've seen in Nigeria. Small holder farmers do not get irrigation in a farm area, but because a business, a private farm comes into that location, the private farm goes to government to say, look, we need water as part of the incentive that you're giving us. So we need to be able to change all of these processes. So if we are able to... If
I can just interrupt you for a moment. You seem to be making the point that the decisions of where to place whatever infrastructure does not seem to be taking place properly. But what I would like you to address is, what would be the role then of non-state actors in ensuring that those decisions are made appropriately?
it goes back. The non-state actors have their own role to play in terms of engaging with the processes, but you cannot engage in processes where the space is not available. So as non-state actors, as civil society organizations, we will continue to use every other means, advocating, using media, using every other means that we could think of, including where it has to involve protest on some of those programs. Civil society organizations, farmers, and others can take those routes. But I think that for me, what basically, for those of us in the civil society or known as non-state actors, is that we will need to also engage in the budget process, which is supposed to help in prioritization of the infrastructure or whatever government is going to be doing. So we need to engage in the budgetary processes and ensure that we are part of setting priorities. We will need also civil society organizations to be engaged in procurement processes, monitoring procurement processes, because this is one key area where corruption takes place, and a lot of times most of the projects are overbloated or they are not done according to specification. So we will need to have civil society organizations build capacity to be able to engage in the procurement processes. And also, I think civil society organizations will also need to understand the way the public finance management system works in their respective countries, to be able to ensure that there are limitations, that we can limit the cases of corruption, failed projects, and ensure that the right thing is done and that this project does meet the needs and the priorities that have been set out in the budget document, as the case may be. And so even if it is PPP, because most of the times we see that many of the infrastructure projects coming through PPP. But because government still has commitment, its own share, and these resources are coming from taxpayers, citizens, civil society organizations, and farmers should be able to engage in that process, in the procurement process, in monitoring what are the items contained within the concession, within the contract, and all of those that is approved both for PPP. So I think it's more about participation, but we need to create that space to ensure that civil society and non-state actors do what is expected of them.
Thank you very much.